Well, we can tell each other where we're at a little bit and, just kind of do some early introductions. I'm in Berkeley, California. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a co-founder of Living Room Conversations. And this is a really important conversation that Newsweek is co-hosting with All Sides on the 6th of next month. And we're trying to have thousands and thousands of people do it. We have technology now that can mismatch people. But the beauty of this conversation is, you guys have been selected to make sure we have, kind of left, right, some balance, a little bit of gender balance, a little bit of age balance. You can never get complete diversity, but to let people know that they could have this conversation too. We're hoping to get some highlights out of this that we can share prior to the conversation coming up. And I will also add that we're hoping this conversation that happens online then also happens in person. So there's a dynamic here about making people feel safe having conversations like this. Because we've seen so much bad behavior with people having conversations that aren't healthy, that we'd like to, have people, it's a listening practice. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what, everybody has to say. I always learn something in these conversations.
Before we go on and are waiting here for a second, Joan, would you explain to everybody about All Sides? I don't, because everybody knows what Newsweek is, but I don't think the others know what All Sides is and how they started and your relationship with them and the founder.
Okay, so John Gable is the founder of All Sides, and I'm now co-founder because it's evolved into more, but it is a news service that has news from across the political spectrum, transparently, left, right, center, so that you can see how different news sources are covering the same topic, which is kind of fascinating. Living in Berkeley, I had to be very intentional about having conversations with people that were not progressives. And
You had to look long and hard.
well, not long and hard, but I had to be intentional. And the fact that we have become increasingly getting news, the algorithms online feed us the news that we agree with. And, I was talking to a friend yesterday who has a brother that has very different politics. And what they did is they swapped their news sources, their entertainment sources, so that they were hearing each other's sources of information. It's like these connections we have with people that see things differently are really important. And at the core of this work is valuing everybody, seeing everyone's humanity and recognizing that, in fact, our goals are, the long-term goals are very much the same. It's just we don't often see different ways to go there. And that's okay. But we are having a period of time when, the reason the political violence conversation is the one that is up is all of a sudden people are recognizing this is a problem, and it seems to be increasing. And the vast majority of people don't want that. So this is a way to say, I'm here and I know, we all own part of this, and how can we take it?
And Joan did a really good TED Talk with John Gable. That's been a number of years ago. Explain that. And Ground News and some of these other sources have come out since, but All Sides was the very first one. And I encourage everybody to share about All Sides, because All Sides has some great teaching tools for teachers and everybody. They have really been doing this for 10 years at least, 12.
Oh, yeah, more.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when he started. It was somewhere around 2012. We met was about the time he got started. The great teaching tools.
Okay, we're losing people now. That's bad. but
I'm here.
good.
Oh, yep. All right, we got Jim coming in. I think he's using his phone because he couldn't get his computer. I hope that works.
Right. Well, as we try to have people see it as something anybody can do, a lot of people may end up doing it on their phone. So we will assume this is a good thing. That's and I do see his name there, so that's a good sign.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, can you unmute and turn your video on? Oh, he's going to log. See, I was having a mic issue. All right, he'll be back. Half the battle, huh?
Yeah.
I always fight the urge to say, and I'm going to say it anyhow, when I was playing sports and then became a coach, I was taught from the first day with my first football coach, who was a former Marine football coach for the Marine. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late, because when practice starts at whatever time, you're supposed to be on the field, warmed up, ready to go. And
Right.
I've tried to live by that.
Yeah.
Because it's,
Yeah. Well, I agree. I tell my kids that they're little. At some point, maybe in the conversation, we'll talk about the core of my campaign is a national service program, kind of like the CCC's WPA, which in that specific history was sort of a precursor to military service, right, in World War II. Once it broke out, a lot of people already had been a little regimented by the CCCs. But I never served. There's a lot of people that served in my family, but more and more, I'm thinking we don't necessarily need military for war, but we need some structure for development and peace at home.
Couldn't agree.
Are you running for something?
Yeah, I'm running for Congress here in Los Angeles, in downtown LA.
Oh, awesome! I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, CJ, as a Democrat, CJ, and that's where Rob came to one of our meet and greets, and I'm going to go to his. We've agreed to help each other during the campaigns and demonstrate the cooperative nature that we're trying to exemplify in his campaign and mine. And that's where when Joan and I started talking like this Friday, and I mentioned that's where it was like the light went off for her and I. It's like, wow, this could be a great one as an example, again, of what we're trying to, the whole purpose of what we're doing and what Rob's campaign's about and mine, one of the core tenets of it.
So Joan, it's 34th. It's right in downtown LA, the central part of LA, the east side, Koreatown, City Hall.
I live in Valley Village, so you're just south of me. You're right.
Valley Village. Is that
north of the 101? San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Joan, I was going to ask you. So on that, as far as being a candidate, I don't want to campaign, obviously, in this forum, but
this is just to have. It's really a very, as you see this unfold, it's a very distinct structure where we answer specific questions.
Okay.
And try and keep our timing very equal to one another. But what makes this, that much more shareable is the fact that you both are running for office and are committed to having respectful and productive conversation about things.
Okay.
Susan, you're the one person I know zip about, because I know CJ, where you graduated, where your graduate school.
So I went to UCSB. I was Law and Society undergrad in psychology. And then I went to Loyola Law School, been a lawyer for 30 plus years, a children's and family lawyer. And I specialize in mediation, high conflict mediation. And I have a nonprofit called Resolutionaries, and we're dedicated to communities and finding solutions. So this is my heart. I'm always bridging the divide between families and as they uncouple. I call it compassionate uncoupling. And my whole life's work is this peace, creating more peace in the family and community. So I'm honored to be here.
We have a connection you may not know about. I wrote the third book about divorce mediation when attorneys were arguing about whether divorce mediation was ethical or not.
Ethical. Oh, that is hilarious.
Ethical or not.
And I met Michael and Rob. We all worked on the Kennedy campaign. So that's our connection.
Okay.
There we go.
So, Rob, do you think Jim's going to be able to make it?
There he is.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Excellent.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
amazing.
Okay.
So now all we need is your video.
Yeah, can you do your video?
Sure, give me a second. I see my video here.
Yay.
There you go.
There we are.
We see you.
All right.
Success. Well, we've all kind of met now.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry you're having such technology can be a bear. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
So welcome, and
Thank
sorry that you missed the first part of the conversation. The conversation goes with the first question is kind of get to know you questions. So I'm going to let us just start because we're a little bit slow on the uptake. So I'm going to press the next button. You should have a sign up political violence in the community telling you about what this is about. And so I'm going to hit next, and I think probably we all can do next. And it starts with why we're here. Each participant has 1 minute to introduce themselves, share your name, where you live, and what drew you here. And I'll start because I'm trying to model this. I'm Joan, and I live in Berkeley, California, and I'm drawn here because I think having conversations and living room conversations in particular where people are really listening to each other is a critical way for us to be connecting in this country and really restoring a sense of all of us together. And then I'm going to pick the next person to talk because that way we'll know where it's going. If we're in person, we can look at each other. Harder to do in this case. So Michael's my friend from way back when doing this kind of work. And so Michael, I'll let you go next.
I'm Michael, and I'm here in Irvine, California, and I am running for Congress. And with my campaign, I'm hoping to exemplify the work of cooperative conversations and deep listening, so that we can come together to find the solutions and the major challenges, significant challenges that face our nation. And with that,
pick your next person.
Dea.
Hi, my name is Susan Dea, and I have been a family and children's lawyer, and I specialize in mediation. And this topic is just very close to my heart, how we can have conversations and move through difficult and challenging times in a way where we honor each other. So it's a pleasure to be here. And I pass on to Rob.
Thank you, Dea. Yeah, my name is Rob Lucero. I live in Los Angeles. I am fifth generation in Los Angeles. I, too, am running for Congress here in the heart of LA. And I think what drew me here was the conversation on the middle. My first election, I voted for Ross Perot in 1992. I've had an independent strain all the way through my adult life, and I'm interested in fortifying that as much as I can, regionally and nationally. And I think this conversation will help that.
And you get to pick the next
person. I get
person.
to pick the next person. How about CJ? I know Jim, so I'll call him CJ, somebody I don't know too well here. And forgive my dog.
No issues. My name is CJ. I live in Sherman Oaks, California. And I guess what drew me to this conversation is the growing acceptance of political violence within my generation, which I find horrific. So just want to, again, have coffee table conversations like this, just to show people in my generation that it can happen without violence.
Great.
Thank you. And Jim, I think you're the last on the list, so I know you're next.
So my name is Jim, and I live in Los Angeles, California. I'm an audio engineer. I've been doing it for 15 years. What drew me here is the actual political weather that we're in, that I've been seeing for the past. I mean, you guys have lived through many presidencies, but the political weather that we're in, as far as censorship and surveillance, and of course political violence that has been going on, and the rhetoric that's been going on both sides of the aisle. So that's why I'm here today. I got invited, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, wonderful to be here with you all. Let's go for the next, and we're going to be getting into stuff soon. So the first thing I should ask before all that is, you all know that this particular conversation is being recorded. And I want to make sure that everyone's good with that. We don't want to share anything someone doesn't want, but we're hoping to have this for others to see so they can see what this is about. So I need you all to nod your heads if this is okay with you. It's okay with me. All right. And if it's not, say something right now. Raise your hand, put it in chat, whatever it is. And thank you so much. Really, really grateful for your participation. So the conversation agreements are what sets the tone for this conversation, which everybody, hopefully we'll have thousands and thousands of people having. And one of the ways we start out is each of us reads one of the conversation agreements. So I'll do this just like the other one. I'll read the first one, and then I'll pick the next person. Be curious and listen to understand. Conversation is as much about listening as it is about talking. You might enjoy exploring how others' experiences have shaped their values and perspectives. Truly listen without interrupting or making comments. CJ, do you want to do the next one?
Sure. Show respect and suspend judgment. People tend to judge one another. Setting judgment aside opens you up to learning from others and makes them feel respected and appreciated. And I'll go to Dea next for the next one.
Note any common ground as well as any differences. Look for the areas of agreement or shared values that may arise. Take an interest in the differing beliefs and opinions of others. And I'll pass on to Rob next.
Okay. I may need you to move it up a little. Oh, I can. Sorry. Move it up. Be authentic and welcome that from others. Share what's important to you. Speak from your experience. Be considerate of others who are doing the same. And Jim, I can go to you. Or did you read one yet? Sorry.
It says, be purposeful and to the point. Do your best to keep your comments concise and relevant to the question you are answering. Be conscious of sharing speaking time with other participants.
And last but not least, own and guide the conversation. Take responsibility for the quality of your participation and the conversation. Be proactive in getting yourself and others back on track if needed. Use an agreed upon signal like timeout, the timeout sign, if you feel the agreements are not being honored.
We all good with that?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Then I'm going to press my next button.
Mm-hmm.
So, this conversation includes answering prompts without interruption and having time to explore what you heard from others in the group. Keeping time helps equalize power dynamics. The host or a participant can keep time and let others know when they should wrap up. Do you want me to keep time, or would someone else like to do that part?
I think it's good practice if you might do it, Joan.
Oh, I thank you. All right. Okay. All right.
We don't want to let
Next.
technology get in our way.
So you can read the beginning of round one then, Michael, since you've left me with that.
Each participant can take 1 to 2 minutes to answer one of these questions. What are your hopes and concerns for your family and or community? What would your best friend say about who you are? What sense of purpose, mission, duty guides you in your life? And if you'd like, I'll start with that. hostess.
Absolutely start with that. I'm doing the timing thing. I'm doing what I'm told. I'm
All right.
very obedient.
So, what sense of the three questions? What sense of purpose, mission, duty guide you in your life? I think that's an important question to be asked and answered by each and everybody. To have a purpose in their life and to work towards that purpose. For me, the purpose that I have come to learn and understand over the last 15 years of my life was a commitment to help change the course of our nation away from the course it was on that was exemplified in the books of the Hunger Games. She even wrote those books and made it very public that that was the course that we were on. And I think of myself as a trim tab, which is a term used in engineering about how do you change a gigantic ocean liner, not with one rudder, but with trim tabs that contribute to that turning. And so my purpose in life, I've dedicated my life to this because of the understanding of the tremendous sacrifices of my father and his generation and my friends and our generation and since the beginning of our nation that has given me the opportunity to live in the American dream. And as my wife and I joke about it, she refers to me as Benjamin Buttons. I got that great life. And now it's my time to serve. And this is where I have chosen to step up and do that. So that's what drives my life, gets me up every day with a sense of purpose, and why I don't surf 50 sessions a year, golf 75 rounds a year, or ski 20 or 30 days a year. I walked away from all of that 15 years ago to dedicate myself to this. So how did I do for time?
Perfect. You have 6 seconds left,
I'll
and you
pass
don't
it
have to
on.
use them. So, who would like to go next?
Let's popcorn it. Rob, you go.
Okay, sounds great. I'll answer using the first prompt, hopes and concerns for family and community. So, as a fifth generation Angelino, it's a very special place, very interesting place, Los Angeles. And I've had the blessing and the benefit, however, of living and working in 25 different states as an organizer, as a political organizer. I've gotten to know a lot about most regions of the United States. I did also live in the Bay Area for 10 years, which we could talk about at some point, Joan. No, my concern is I was very close to my grandparents, many grandparents. My parents were very young when I was born, so I was able to learn a lot from my grandparents and some of my great-grandparents. I actually met 4 of my great-grandparents. So I get to think in terms of these generations, and I bring that to what I'm doing with my campaign now as far as how community life can change and be better. For example, in downtown Los Angeles, that place used to be a wonderland in the 1950s and 60s. People went shopping down there. It was a great place to be. Now it's got a lot of problems. So my hope for the community is that we can do a lot, that I can help catalyze a lot with my campaign to have the community rebuild itself. I'm a big fan of community banking, community investment by the community, of for and by the community. So I hope to see that happen over the coming months and years. Was I within a minute? Sorry.
You were under 2 minutes, about a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do better to time myself here.
It's perfect.
Okay.
And you don't have to time yourself because I'm attempting to do so.
Okay. Okay. Oh, so am I passing the baton?
Yes.
How about to my San Fernando Valley friend, CJ?
So I guess I'll take the role of speaking for my generation in this conversation. So hopes for my community, that's kind of who my community is. I'm a Christian, so I hope that my generation gets back to faith. I think that the lack of faith in my generation has completely led us to things like porn addiction, things like drug addiction, and just finding different avenues that are not tied to faith that have led us just down a very bad path. hope, de facto that we get back to the nuclear family and getting back to family. I think when you replace, the government with the father in the home, you just get so many bad consequences from that. So I hope that my generation gets back to faith and family, which I think is the core of the American dream, in my opinion. So that's how I answer that question.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Popcorn.
And I'll pass it to Jim.
So, my question would be, what sense of purpose, mission, duty guides you in your life? So, so I've been involved with charity work behind the scenes for about 10 years, in service to different causes. For example, donating funds or money to certain causes. For example, money that goes to St. Jude, or money that goes to the Shriners Hospital or whatnot. With the organization that it's a fraternity that I got involved in, and I understood the meaning of service to others. So I take my inspiration from there. I understand throughout life we always have, it's never a good day until the day is finished. So I understand what, at least a little bit of understanding of what life is and what it is to be in need. We've helped people at Skid Road. I remember we did some charity work for that organization. So I try to live my life in the entertainment industry. I'm known to help out a lot of people as well. I put them in positions. So that's my purpose and mission in life, to be helpful to humanity, and to be as helpful as much as I can. And sometimes it's good, sometimes bad, but it's a learning experience that I have and I get from doing this. So that's my 2 minutes. Or did I?
You guys are perfectly on it.
Popcorn and Jim.
Michael.
I've already done it. So, Joan, you go next.
Oh, Joan, sorry.
Me? All right. Well, my purpose mission right now is all about these conversations and trying to get people to be able to be caring about each other, and even when they see things differently, that we can have a society with many different people and viewpoints and really care about each other and find ways to come up with solutions for challenges that work for us all. And it's been hard seeing how difficult that is right now, and that people are, intimidated by having a conversation, and hence these conversations where people have the experience of really hearing each other. Listening is really powerful. And so that's been really beautiful, getting to do that. And so having, thousands and thousands of people have these conversations is the mission. And I am hopeful. So that's mine. And let's see, who else has not talked? Susan.
Oh, Susan.
But you're muted, so we can't hear you.
I'm unmuted now. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. So, Joan, yes, my sense and purpose, mission, duty that guides me in my life has always been related to family and relationship, and nurturing those relationships, because I think that's key to having a healthy society. And it starts with the family and the community and each and every one of us. And as a lawyer mediator, probably hundreds, if not thousands of families that I've supported, I know the magic of listening and holding a safe space for people to speak and share from their hearts, and the possibility of us creating, a society, our families, healthy families and community. So I have a lot of hope, and these conversations are just so critical. I think they are key to moving forward to creating a better society for all of us. So
Thank you. All right. So now we go into round two. Press the next button. And would someone like to read the intro to round two?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read it. Peaceful communities depend on our ability to hold strong convictions while respecting those who see the world differently. Disagreement in itself is not a threat, but a necessary part of our society and our democracy. However, when disagreement turns into deep conflict or political violence, we all suffer. Political violence exists on a spectrum, from aggressive and demeaning language to intimidation and physical harm. Each point along that spectrum weakens the civic bonds we rely on. Even when it's not extreme, political violence can erode trust and make us fearful or divided. So, what can we do when political violence touches our communities or relationships? It can be tempting to disengage or oversimplify conflict to us versus them. But maybe the real work is to build a stronger we. Each of us has some degree of influence. Together, we can create communities that promote healthy disagreement, invest in connection, and protect the differences that allow our democracy to thrive.
All right, thank you. And then we hit next, and would someone else like to read the next part?
Sure. Each participant chooses a question below and takes about 2 minutes to answer without interruption or crosstalk. You do not need to answer the same question. After everyone has answered, the group may open up the conversation and take about 10 minutes to explore what you've heard from each other or ask follow-up questions before going back to answer another question. Continue to be mindful of how much you are speaking and make room for those who may be more hesitant to speak up. The questions are: how do you define political violence? What contributes to it? What forms have you seen political violence take? How has political rhetoric, news, or violence impacted you or your community? What does the idea of a more perfect union mean to you? And how do you envision that looking at the local, state, and national level? Do you avoid politically charged situations? What could help you stay engaged and contribute to lowering the temperature, preventing or resolving conflict? Think about your own community. If political violence came to your backyard, how would you want to come together to heal or resolve it? Am I going first as well?
If you are so inspired, go ahead.
There's like a lot of ways to answer all these questions. I guess an idea of a more perfect union to me, which I think has become a lot more popular, is to see the disbandment of the two-party system. In my opinion, I just don't think it works for anybody. I think that my generation, if it does happen, will be the generation to do it, just because we've seen the failures of over and over and over again. The constant just parties agree on nothing until they agree on something, and that something is never beneficial for the majority of Americans. So that is what I envision a more perfect union to mean: just more options when we're voting, not to just have to be a D or an R. And I think that that's true at all levels. So I guess that's how I answer that question, not to go over 2 minutes. And I'll pass it to Mike.
Thank you, CJ. Each of those questions is very, could go off on.
Yes.
How do you define political violence? What contributes to it? What forms have you seen political violence take? I'll take that question because I got asked, I was giving a talk on Monday night, just 2 nights ago, and I was asked, are you going to attack your opponent? And literally the words were, are you going to attack your opponent? My opponent in the race has gotten a couple of DUIs. On this issue of DUI, and after that, I just said, my answer was no. I'm not going to attack him on that. I'm not even going to bring it up. I said I want to challenge him on the issues and exemplify the kind of demeanor that I hope we will all take on. Uh, and and a friend of mine was up at a King's rally, and the language that is being used, and I'll use this as an example, and there's other sides that could be done, but a friend of mine wrote me a note after coming back from that, and I'll read briefly what he just said about after the organizers had just got done embellishing everybody to be civil, lead with love, etc. The slogans that they started chanting were, and I'll say this, fuck off fascists, elect the rapists, expect to be raped, Republicans protect pedophiles. That kind of language used on either side about the opponent gets people angry, gets them riled up, it gets them emotional, and then when their emotions take over, they do strange things and they quit listening. They've quit listening a long time ago when they would even say those kinds of things. And I'm often reminded about it's more important to ask yourself why that person acts the way they do, or do what they do, or see or think what they do. What is it in their life that's going on that makes them act that way, makes them think that way, instead of trying to attack them? So I could go on about that, but I'd leave it at that in reference to everybody else. So having said that, Dea, please follow.
You're muted,
I'm-
Dea.
Thank you, Michael. Let's see. Gosh, it's hard to pick, but I'll pick. How has political rhetoric, news, or violence impacted you or your community? Well, that's definitely has impacted me and my family and community. I have noticed that the intense name calling and the pointing fingers, all of that has intensified, and all the algorithms online have reinforced people's division, and it's become more and more obvious, and it makes our job a little more challenging. I like to word the use challenging, for us to really step back, realize what's going on, and that the chaos that's being created has really affected us individually and as a community. And you know, that's like one very important thing I think that we have to really tune in and step back and see the larger picture, what's going on, so we can really evaluate why we're so divided right now. And it's very intense. There's so many examples I don't have to go over, but it has impacted. I mean, even in my community, I have a sign out, no on 50, and a Maha sign as well on my front yard. And I have neighbors walking by and saying something like, this is an example, Kennedy is a child killer, or Maha kills children. And, they walk by and shout it. So that's the intensity that I hear every day when he walks by. And, how do you handle that? I feel for him. That's just one example of, I think, what's going on and how it's impacting our communities. Yeah, I hope to be one of those persons who can stand up and help address those issues. All right, and I will pass on to Rob.
Okay. I'll take the do you avoid politically charged situations? What could you what could help stay engaged and contribute to lowering the temperature? So I'm a big student of history, and I'm very fond, especially of of Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War period, because I think there's just a lot that Americans can learn from many different parts of that. And then you can actually transfer some parallels to the Second World War, especially after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, when the country had to be unified, right? So without getting into historical details, the thing is, obviously the Civil War situation leading into it, coming during the Civil War, was one of the most politically charged situations ever. So I've as a student of that history, I've never avoided this question of how do you actually bring people together? Because I believe that from the beginning of the United States, we've had this problem of being divided, right? It was in Washington's farewell address, the partisan problem. Really, when it comes down to it, Americans, we really are good people. We really do represent one of the most profound breakthroughs in self-government in known history. We're coming up on the 250th anniversary of all those events, the Declaration next year, and many other things to reflect on. So I think it's a perfect time to think about unifying around a common effort, community-wise, personally. We all know life is actually short when you think about it. And so the question is, what do you do that contributes to that greater good while you're here? And I just think that is so rich. And my hope is that I can help bring through these kinds of conversations more of that kind of thinking that is the better angels of our nature, as Lincoln said. And I'll pass to Jim. Have you gone yet on this one?
It's my turn. So Rob, thanks for that. I appreciate that, and I believe in what you're doing. Absolutely. So mine, I would be, let me see, how has political rhetoric, news, and violence impacted you or your community? I would agree with Susan. I've also, speaking from experience, I've realized that the political rhetoric is on both sides. If you lean to the left, you get a certain political rhetoric and you get attacked and you get called a fascist. I got called a fascist, a Nazi, and God knows what else. And if you know me, obviously, I'm not. and and if you lean a little bit towards the right, or on the left, the right calls you all kinds of names. And I believe these two types of rhetoric on both sides push people away from actual newcomers to pick a side. And it makes it hard for, it makes, not for myself, but in general, it makes it hard for students. It makes it hard for people who were not politically involved to pick a side. And then everybody gets pushed, sorry about that, but everyone gets pushed to the middle. And then when we have a third party, you have the laws that are there to prevent a third party from winning. So the political rhetoric and those who create the political rhetoric are actually on a win and win. And who wins in this case? Nobody, except the people creating the political rhetoric and the groups that are perverting on our laws when it comes down to a third party. For example, what happened with Bobby? What happened with him? He decided to run as a third party, and then there was laws there to prevent him from winning. He was sued because he was running, and then he was sued to get off the race. So I believe political rhetoric needs to stop, and it's on both sides. And I think that's a huge danger to our both political systems in general. And I think that those are some of the issues that cause all this division, and actually is there, but it goes over people's heads if you don't know what to look for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I think I'm the last. And yeah, how has political rhetoric, news, or violence impacted me or my community is kind of my starting place, because that's what I'm experiencing so actively. People that are deeply upset by the daily news, people that are choosing to no longer follow the daily news. The news is oppressive for a lot of people right now, and it causes them to be fearful and not want to not have faith in a future that's going to be, it's pulling them away from the public sphere, which is, I believe, really unhealthy for our long-term success. So the political rhetoric, news, and then the assassinations that happened this year are just, it seems to be increasing, not decreasing. And it's like, how do we turn this around? Because I know that my community, my friends and my larger community are being very negatively impacted by the political atmosphere of, if not violence, threat. And I think about how, people running for school board or running for office or just helping at the polls don't feel safe doing so. The people I want to be active are feeling unable to do so, maybe not for themselves, but because of their families. What does that do to our systems? So we've all talked and you guys are perfect on the 2 minutes things, 2 minutes or less. We could pick another of these questions or dig deeper into what we were just talking about. We've got time to talk for about another 10 or 20 minutes, and then we'll go to the third round, which takes us to closing. So
I'll speak up. I was really glad to hear what you said, Rob, because I didn't realize that you were a history background, and two, but Abraham Lincoln, the example of Abraham Lincoln and what he did with his team of rivals. And I would encourage anyone out there to read the book Team of Rivals and understand deeply how Abraham Lincoln, how the principles that he and others founded in the Republican Party, and then they came together to form this unity government that he had committed to and had his three biggest opponents against him for the nomination and then for the presidency that he had on his cabinet. And it was that willingness to seek a broader understanding, to make sure he got everybody's perspective in there, and then how he did that without going into taking too much time. I really encourage that. That's a wonderful example. It's one I use constantly in my talks, is Abraham Lincoln, the unity government, which is exemplified now by Kennedy and Trump coming together and what they're trying to do to get us through this Civil War, and how they, at the end of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln made it really clear, welcome all of those Southerners back. They are our families. They are all Americans, and lay out that welcome mat and embrace them, and always understand, but for the grace of God could have gone you.
Yeah. CJ, did you want to go? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I would say from the generational standpoint of Gen Z, it's extremely frustrating because I think that the way you stop political violence, or a lot of violence in general, is to create a thriving society. And so when it's too expensive to live, when it's too expensive to create a family, the only reaction that you're going to get is, well, I got to get violent now because I have to take what I want. And when you have things like as simple as paid family leave that polls at 80% or 90%, it doesn't get passed in Congress, that's like a slap in the face to my generation. It's like, well, what the hell? Mm-hmm. Why can't we get things passed that are polling at 80 and 90%? So I think that it's definitely an answer. Like, we have answers. Create a thriving society and you don't get violence. But we have, and I'm going to be very honest, people like Chuck Grassley and on the other side, Nancy Pelosi, who are in their 90s, who are running for re-election. It's like, no, you guys are done. Your time is over. This is a new generation that needs to take over. And when you have people who just don't know when to give up, Chuck Schumer is another one of those people. It's like, just, you're done. You're polling, it doesn't even matter when it comes to age. It's just mental acuity and political acuity. You don't have any anymore, and you've lost the faith of your voters. And so you have people at the top who just are not willing to give up power. And so therefore you get violence. And so that's how I answer the question.
I just wanted to share, following that, CJ, I think it's really important that we get leaders now that actually are there for the American people first, and I think the way the system's set up, and I just picture a shift and a change as we move forward that benefits, really focuses on the people. So independent thinkers, Some of our politicians like break party lines, which I love, because they're doing what their heart says. And I'm sure it's not easy. The way the system's set up, it makes it very difficult for the Republicans and the Democrats to not vote Republican or Democrat. And I think that really hurts our system. So I'm an independent. I've been an independent for quite a while, proud independent. I think it gives you a lot more freedom with your thoughts and, that kind of thing. And sort of the heal the divide, it's where I sit. But I would really like to see some leaders step up and have the balls and have the courage to, take on the system. And I know it's not easy. I met with Tracy Park, one of our local leaders, and I know it's not easy for her in LA to challenge the status quo. They're bullied. These people are bullied and they get death threats. So that's really what's happening. And I'd love to see us, have leaders who maybe come together in a coalition that really have transparency and have the people first versus the party first.
Yes.
Yeah, if I can say a couple things too on this, taking off from what everybody's been saying, especially from what CJ addressed in terms of the younger generation. I've actually been involved in organizing on college campuses since the late 90s. And so I've been talking to younger generations constantly. I do mentoring now at a university, and I'm going to be on a college campus tomorrow. The thing, we have a very urgent situation with respect to people under the age of 35, let's say, especially 18 to 25, which is that they actually are feeling more and more alienated from the society around them. And this is where you have a breeding ground of all kinds of crazy, inexplicable violence, right? People say on the news, or they're looking for a motive. And I'm saying, why? You're driving people crazy. That's the first motive is there. I'm not excusing violence, but when it comes to different forms of violence we've seen since Columbine, through the Charlie Kirk assassination, there's a real problem, particularly with young men, and the fact that we don't have a purpose, a genuine purpose for young men anymore. That's something I see. In my district where I'm running for Congress, Robert Kennedy Sr. was assassinated at the Ambassador Hotel. And this was sort of the nail in the coffin to the 1960s. You had the hope of President Kennedy. You had the hope of the civil rights movement. And with Robert Kennedy's assassination, those hopes were just dashed. And you had a young generation go through the Vietnam War and all that, and the things that we know from that. And you began to have a country that had a real problem giving a real path to ownership of the society by the young people. And it's been a long-term problem. So I think this is a very big point. And it's something CJ, what you said about members of Congress not understanding and not seeming to care about what people under the age of 40 are dealing with and saying. This is a 5-alarm fire. This is a big deal. I just wanted to add that.
Well, I want to tie a couple threads together. Then in the interim is Dea was referencing the system, how it's set up. And Rob was saying again about them not doing anything. And CJ, we know there's a problem that the vast majority of currently elected people in Congress are there for the wrong reasons. They're there for their own self-enrichment. They're there for their political party's enrichment and power control. And they're there for the special interests. They tell us everything we want to hear every election cycle. And then they go off into Congress and do what the leadership of the party tells them, what the money buys from them to do. And that's what we have to change and get citizen leaders in there who are committed to the people, to the Constitution, first and primary. Always, those take priority over a political party and political self-power. And somebody's got a background noise.
Yeah.
I think we have to mute when someone's talking because it.
Yes, I believe so as well.
We could go on, but come on, guys. I don't want to.
Jim, do you want to talk?
But it wasn't my mic. But geez, sure. I don't want to be an echo to everybody, but I do believe, like Rob said, we have and Michael mentioned, we have all these laws that are ready to pass or anything, or these things that are set up, or just in general, our entire system that is, we put our faith in it. We put our faith in politicians to get into these houses
Yes.
and to these chairs. And how Michael said, as soon as they get there, they forget that the people got them there. And even though if they're funded or they take uh, corporate money or whatnot, they forget the Constitution, that it's we the people, not we the corporations. And that's what the issue is and has been for decades. And I still can't believe that our current politicians, who are not right now who are running, but for the past 20, 30 years, how come they haven't, if we're seeing this right now, what is it that they don't see or that they have not seen back in the 90s? I can't believe that it's an ongoing situation. There's other countries that are doing way better than us in regards to listening the political structure catering to their people. Look what happened at what is it, Nepal? They didn't cater to their people, and like CJ said, what was the last resort? These guys did what they did, and obviously, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but in general, every action has a reaction, and every politician there should keep in mind that they serve the people, not the corporations. So
Yeah, I
that's
completely agree, because you look at, like, I'll go back to the affordability thing. When you look at our birth rates, like there's going to be less 18-year-olds in the next generation than there's ever been in America. Like, that's an issue. Like, a declining birth rate is not a good thing. It's a precursor to a failing or collapsing society. And so when I or the people in my generation are not able to have kids because I'm not raising my kids in an apartment, I need to raise my kids in a house, in a community where I feel safe. That's not possible for me, and it's not going to be possible for 95% of my generation for the next 10 years to be able to do that. Bill Clinton, his famous line is somebody I heavily disagree with, but it's the economy, stupid. Like, if you don't set up your younger generation to be able to perform economically, then we're going to act violently, because there's no other resort. So I think when we can fulfill the affordability issue, it's going to just sew up so many loose ends. And until we do that, you're just going to see more and more and more and more political violence.
Yeah, I agree. These problems didn't just happen overnight, and those politicians see exactly what's going on.
Yes.
They're not incentivized to change it. They have changed the rules. The system itself is designed incredibly ingenious, but they have calcified all of the mechanisms of change to keep the people's voice out. And
Yes.
they recognize the problems, and they let the problems fester and get worse so that they can get more power and more control and blame it on the other party. And the people have to wake up and realize we can't keep electing the same kind of people who are there for themselves, no matter what they say to us at elections. We have to look into their deep history of their life. What have they done in their life to prove that what they're telling us they will live up to and do? And that's what the responsibility of the people is to take the time to look into the true backgrounds of people, not just listen to their words and their rhetoric, and elect the same people based upon a label or the words only that they speak to us.
Okay, I got to speak up on behalf of, there's an awful lot of politicians that get into politics because they want to do good things. And I think that you guys that are on this call are among those. And I think once you get into the system, there's a lot in the structure of the system that makes it very hard to do what you went to, you became a legislator to do. And I think the incentives, we've got a lot of perverse incentives that are undermining things. So,
Joan,
yeah.
let me take one exception, not exception, but to clarify. Get into the system. You're absolutely right. Most everyone gets into the system at the school board level, the community level, with the right intentions. But the way that the political parties, the two parties, have changed the rules of operations with their control of the parties, to work your way up higher and higher levels, you have to prove your loyalty to the party and its agenda, for they will allow you the opportunities to advance. So by the time you get up to an office like Congress that you're running for, if you've worked your way up from city council all the way up, you have sold out to the leadership. You've proven your loyalty to the party instead of the people. And that's why this new kind of leader like Rob, like myself and others, need to get elected, people who've stepped out of their daily lives and are willing to make the sacrifices now to go to Congress to do the job. They have not earned the loyalty points of a party leadership. They hopefully will have earned this respect of their community and their fellow citizens, and will go there not for a career, not for a party, but first and foremost for the Constitution and the people.
I am just saying that there are good people that are in there.
There
and
are.
that want to be doing good things.
And with
I hear that you
reinforcements,
want
they
to
will.
too.
And with reinforcements, enough of them will be there that their good side and good nature can come forward. And that's hopefully what Rob and I and others will do, is give the reinforcements for those good deeds, those good intentions of those people who've survived the process, who want to come out and do the right thing on behalf of the people.
So as we move towards the final round, is there anything else others want to say in this round two?
If I can add one more thing, I'm a very optimistic person, and that's another thing I've learned from studying Lincoln. He used to, of course, get on the nerves of members of his cabinet for being very lighthearted at certain times, right? Telling jokes and quoting from Shakespeare's comedies and such. But I have enough faith in humanity that I believe we can come through this, as long as we're honest about how we got here and what it's going to take, including the time and the patience it's going to take to heal a lot of these things. I think some of these things are paradoxical. Some things shouldn't take forever. I often use the example of within 7 months of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the United States destroyed the Japanese Navy at the Battle of Midway. We beat the Japanese Navy within 7 months of Pearl Harbor. Things don't have to take forever, right? So they say that the homeless crisis in Southern California, why is this not solved? Why is it taking so long? And the answer to me, in my view, is it shouldn't take this long. This could be a mission of people that are 18 to 25 today to say, look, we're going to have a city, Los Angeles, by the time we get to 2028, the Olympics, that's going to be clean. Those people are going to be cared for. We can solve these problems. So I just wanted to add that sort of optimistic point about how we can get beyond this political violence, but it's going to have to be some hard work.
Okay. Anyone else want to say a last thing before we go to the final round? All right, hit the next button. So, take 2 minutes to answer one of the following questions. What do you think we can do to combat political violence, either as a group or individually? Or what was most meaningful and valuable to you in this living room conversation?
VOTE. Americans do not vote. Just to bring up an example, we all may feel differently about Prop 50. I'm a conservative or Republican. Republicans lose in the state because we don't vote. And, either side loses an election because they don't vote. And the American turnout rate, even in general elections, presidential years, is still pitiful. Like, I just have too many, especially among my generation. We complain a lot, but we don't vote. So I think if we actually unionized people and not, brung people together to actually vote, we would see the results that, getting things like paid family leave or, things of that nature would actually pass.
Well, if I may on that, history is a great tool and a great mirror. There's a somewhat famous story from the 1968 election right here in California. We had our primary June 4th, 1968, and they had new voting machines. They were counting the votes. The tally went late into the night. which is when Bobby Sr. gave his famous speech on June 5th at 1 a.m, his last public remarks. But the point I wanted to make about what CJ said is that around 6:30 that night, Bobby's campaign, began to get reports that precincts were closing early in Watts and other parts of South LA. And the campaign immediately started figuring out who's doing this. Why is this happening? Why are they suppressing the vote, right? And do you know what they found out? They found out they were closing the polls early because they had 100% turnout. Everybody had voted and they were able to go home early.
It's unheard of.
It's unheard of, right? So you had, when you create that kind of movement as he did in 1968, change can happen. And of course, we know that a stop was put to that
right
late that night, right? So again, I'm optimistic that even coming out of one of the worst cases of political violence, the assassination of RFK Sr., right? Something that his family, including Bobby, our friend Bobby Jr., revisits far too often in his own mind. Even from we can survive those kinds of things. We can come through them and learn those lessons. So I'm with CJ. We got to get that vote to turn out again.
Absolutely. Getting the vote out is huge, and getting people engaged in politics. There's so many people that are not engaged whatsoever. That just, if we can get them, the other thing we're reflecting on is into these living room conversations and empowering them and engaging them again. That this is part of our society, politics. It's not going to go away, and that how important it is to step up, vote, have a voice, come together.
Yeah, Nina Turner, who I vehemently disagree with, she says she ran for state senator in Ohio. She said, you don't have to do politics, but politics will do you. And that is just the truth.
The assassination that you mentioned, Rob, I think of Charlie Kirk immediately. And Charlie Kirk wasn't assassinated for what he said. He was assassinated for what others said about him and how they interpreted and wanted and became a filter about what he said. It wasn't what he really said. Something that it's a choice people make. The word repent means to change the way you think. And if people want to, they're finally tired of this, they have to make a conscious choice to do things differently. And to vote, yes, but be an informed voter. Don't just vote by being told what somebody else is telling you who to vote for.
Point, Mike.
That's the biggest thing going on with our media and controlled manipulation of people's thinking. They go there and let other people tell them who to vote for instead of them taking the time to think for themselves. And I encourage everybody to think a second time for everything. Something that I've done to make it a practice I'd share with people is how to communicate as a humanitarian, a humanitarian. This is something that I got exposed to back 5 years ago. And you can see from the notes, I've been reading this regularly, almost daily for months, how to communicate or not to communicate as a humanitarian. And I encourage people to change the way you think. If you want to see a change in our culture, it starts with you and a decision you make to change your behavior. And the way you do that is changing what you think about and the way you want to act.
Briefly chime in here and say how another way to get people to vote. How do you get people to vote? Is by the people who we already voted for bring results, and that's how you actually get people to vote. It's you
Absolutely.
you get people inspired. You get people to drain the swamp, and for example. But in general, you bring results, so then people see results. Right now, if people don't see results, so what am I gonna go vote for? For another. I'm practically gonna vote for a corporation. I'm just not gonna vote. That's the logical. To say, but just bring people results. You get results, you get more people involved. Simple as that.
Yep.
So true.
Well, I will note that I am a complete believer that everyone should vote. And to combat political violence, as a group or individually, I think having connections with people that have different viewpoints is one of the ways we combat political violence, because when we see each other's humanity, we recognize that those people are seeing things in a different way, and that issues are more complex than we perhaps had recognized. It's not a simple, it's good or it's bad, that most of the things that we want require us to work together. And, my sense of us being in a stalemate and stuck has a lot to do with our lack of relationship and wanting to take care of each other's basic needs. And the need for younger people to be able to have families is essential for not just them, but it's essential for our society. And creating that kind of place where we think together so that we can create solutions. Rob, I love the concept of taking care of homelessness, not just in LA. For me, the homeless situation is a physical manifestation of how dysfunctional we are right now.
Yep.
And that dysfunction has to do with loss of connection. So I'm hoping that if we can start seeing each other's intentions to have these good ends, that we'll start to find the ways to work towards them in a productive fashion.
And I want to say one other thing too, in terms of young people and education, and another history thing. Political violence is not something that's new. I mean, there was a reason that we used to have the Iliad and the Odyssey in our curriculum. War and tragedy from petty disagreements, like Zeus fighting with one of the gods about something, right? I mean, this was supposed to be instructive to young people, right? Why study those things? My kids try to tell me homework is hard these days, and I say, well, look, how would you like to have to read the Iliad and the Odyssey in the original Greek? I didn't even have to do that, but you want some hard homework that it used to exist, but no, political. As I said earlier too, Lincoln's main point as a young man was, there's nobody that's going to come and conquer the United States. We're going to destroy ourselves.
Yep.
We before we became a physical superpower, it was clear to him that nobody was going to conquer us except for our own internal undoing. So again, I'm optimistic that we can right the ship and overcome this.
Since we have time, I'm going to ask if you guys could answer the last question, because that might be helpful in some of our cuts for sharing, which was, is there something meaningful or particularly valuable to you in this living room conversation?
I think being able to sit and have a conversation with I'm a manifester, future sitting congressmen, I think is dope for me. Two different aisles, I'll say. I got to speak to Congressman Mike and Rob in a single room, so I think that's cool.
Thank you.
I like
Chime
that.
in briefly, and I'd like to go ahead and actually thank you guys for the invite, and I appreciate the fact that, like CJ said, Rob and Mike are willing to be our champion, to be the champion for the people, and actually are willing to take time off their life, from their life energy, and put it into public service. And I'm for that, and I appreciate that you guys are willing to take the torch and run with it. So thank you guys, and I appreciate the invite.
And I'll chime in. This is the key to us moving forward, and living room conversation allows us each to share, and we learn from this. We listen, we learn, we expand our perspectives perhaps, and then we can move towards solutions. That's what it's all about, and we need this more than ever now with the divide, and I'm very grateful to be part of this, the birthing of this.
I would like to add that living room conversations something actually, I think it was you that said it, Joan, a few minutes ago, the lack of real relationships and connections. People think of themselves and connect through Facebook, WhatsApp, and you can name all these different apps, but real connections. Now, we're physically in 6 different places throughout the state of California, and it's not like we were sitting in a room, because sitting in a room, you would be able to read body language and more subtle nuances of it. But next to that possibility, having living room conversations bring people together of really different perspectives, backgrounds, is really important. And having a structure, which some people at first may think, oh, that structure can be disheartening, make it cold. At the other thing, it makes you sit back and take the time to actually listen to somebody else and think and answer a question that others can hear in a way that helps move you towards understanding somebody far better. And it's, even though it seems like a structure, it's a very structured process that leads to a real good outcome. And thank you for creating this platform and this process.
Yeah, if I can say, Joan, in terms of what was most meaningful and valuable, the whole conversation, of course, and the many elements that were here. And I would say one of the most important things to me was to hear from CJ about the concerns, the deep concerns of the younger generation. This question of maintaining and then reproducing the existing generation, having a new generation. We've reached the point, I don't know if people have heard about this, but there's some, quote unquote progressives. And as a Democrat, I really debate this question of what a progressive really is. This is a term that's over 100 years old, and now it means something totally different, because yes, one of the new progressive things is to have young men get vasectomies in their college years. And this is supposed to be some great good. You got young women getting plastic surgery in their 20s too, to make them look like a middle-aged woman, I guess. I don't even know. So lots of confusion here. And I'm hoping we can just get back to some more basic, understandings, and also just initiatives to support young people. Because I don't want to just be critical. That doesn't help anything. I want to make sure that we give younger people the resources they need to thrive. So, CJ, I appreciate that part of the conversation.
Thank you.
And I always learn a lot in these conversations, and really appreciate being able to do this conversation ahead of the bigger event on the 6th, because I think there's still some ways to, okay, what was I doing as a host that helped this move maybe better? So I hadn't tried this particular format yet. So you guys have, it was a gift. And I thank you all very much for that.
Sorry, it was so good.
It was reciprocal. It was a gift for us as well.
Well, I hope you all try it on the 6th too. And then we need to do it in person locally, because if we do it here, we can also do it in our communities, literally.
Well, the only person that would have to come any distance, I'm more than willing to come up from South Orange County. You come down, Joan, to LA, we could meet in the heart of LA, and that would be kind of the center point for all of us. So,
because nobody's driving to Fresno. I'm sorry.
Certainly not 5 of us.
Are you in Fresno, Joan?
No, I'm in Berkeley.
I was saying middle point.
Oh yeah, midpoint. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's not on our bucket list stops of the day.
Yeah.
All right. With that, we do need to say goodbye. Rob had a hard stop. I think we covered everything. It was a great conversation. I appreciate it. We could go on any one of those topics at length. There's a lot of things. So appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Wonderful to meet you all.
All right. Thank you, John. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.